Today I'm joined by Kenny Mackay, who's head of golf courses, grounds and estates at Wentworth Golf Club. Kenny, thanks for joining us today.
No problem, Martin. Glad we can do it.
Well, let's get this right up front. The right time to talk to you because it's 10 years now that you've been at Wentworth.
Yeah, it's flown by. 10 years has been amazing. We were talking with the family the other day, and we moved here, and it's just absolutely can't believe how quick it's gone. To be honest, really amazing. Yeah.
So 10 years at Wentworth, but you had a stint before that at the Belfry. Two of the very top golf courses in the world, to be frank.
Yeah. I mean, the Belfry, the opportunity to go to the Belfry was I think a catalyst for the opportunity to come to Wentworth. So when I was there, and then Chris decided he was retiring at Wentworth, I think being at the Belfry, running three golf courses, and being involved in such a big operation, gave me a great opportunity to apply and get the job at Wentworth, really.
And what attracted you to the role?
For me, Wentworth. So Belfield was an amazing place, had a great time. But Wentworth, and I can describe it a little bit, and the Belfield might not be that happy about it, but um, I kind of describe it being the chance. Wentworth, to me, in football terms, it's like going to Barcelona or Real Madrid. For me, that was the job, the place to be, and I don't regret anything of it. It's been unbelievable.
And your journey kind of started, I guess, with Elmwood College. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so my journey kind of was a bit of a crossroads in my life at the time, and felt that wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was doing a number of different jobs, building work, some decorating, and just a lot stumbling from pillar to post, and kind of got injured at football, and so I had a time then to reflect a little bit what I was going to do. I had a look, and my love of golf. I've always loved golf. I've always loved the courses, and kind of saw that Elmwood were running a full time course um, on greenkeeping, and I just felt that, is this the moment to apply? It was going to be tough for a few years going back to college as a mature student, um, and having that opportunity then to then progress beyond it. I just felt Elmwood College was something I couldn't. When I went and met them, and they offered me a place on the course, and I think it was only the second year they had ran a full time course.
Right.
Previously, it'd been day release for a lot of guys, and then having that opportunity to do it full time. And I met a number of guys from a number of industries that came into it. Some guy caddies on the European tour, guys from had been trained as an architect. There was a real number of people that would never have got the chance to do that course, because previously you had to be working on a golf course and do day release and block release. So having that opportunity to go there full time and do that was, it just opened a few doors, and I think they never looked back in running that course because it brought somebody into the industry.
And was that a 3-year course, 2-year course?
So it was a 1 year course, and then there was an opportunity to do the HNC behind it. And in fact, what I did is I did the 1 year course, got a job at the London Club when it was being constructed, and grown in. And by applying for that job, getting that job, I then went on and did the HNC as a distance learning
Okay.
over the
Sounds
next 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so I think, have you ever worked at anything other than most prestigious venues, Kenny? Because I think the other one I've got is Marriott Group as well. So you looked after them, all of the courses for the Marriott Group. Is that correct?
I did, and I started at Hanbury Manor, and in tournament golf. They had just signed up to some tournament golf. I worked originally under Sylvain Duval, and he was looking. He worked there and working on bent grass greens, the same as the London Club at Hanbury, and fortunately for me, and this is how the breaks go in the world of sport and turf. Sylvain, a year or 14 months into my job under him at Hanbury, he took a job in Italy. And the guys at Hanbury Manor had big plans for the group. They were building a course in Manchester and a course in Leeds, and we expanding as a company. And I think really they were maybe earmarked me for one of the new projects. And then Sylvain decided to leave. I applied for a job, and that I started it. We then ended up running English Open championships at the time. And so that's where the tournament golf really kicked in.
So it kind of happened quite fast for you then. And do you think, obviously, that accelerated your career, or did you have to learn very quickly, or what was the consequences?
Learned a lot. I think golf played a big part in it for me. Understanding the golfer expectations at prestigious places, what they're accepting to get. For me, I just wanted to be given as good a standard as we could, and I was a decent golfer, so it helped, I think, and I've kind of been a Category 1 player most of my days, and so never really. So I always felt I could keep up with the golf pros and play golf to a decent level. So they would. I think that stood me in a lot of great stead for everything I did beyond that, really.
So that understanding from the player's perspective at a high standard, has that shaped your philosophy of how to deliver?
Yeah, I think that's something that I've maybe prided myself on a little bit more than some people get. The agronomy is important, it's really part of it, but you've kind of. I remember walking the course with Ernie Elsie's manager when I came to Wentworth, and he was saying how pro golf I am, how the course plays, how the shots land in, and it's a guy called Thomas Ruby. I think he's still Ernie's manager, and he was blown away, I think, of how the golf shaped how I want to run the golf courses, kind of thing.
Okay, so that was a different approach to what he'd seen before?
I really don't know to different to MD else, but for example, Sylvain didn't play golf. So Sylvain was a pure agronomy guy, which I learned a huge amount of in a very short period. I worked under Joe Paulin at the London Club, and he was an American brought in to run the London Club, very agronomy driven, which I took lots of, but in some Australian guys as well, Steve Marsden and Andy Wood. But for me, I wanted to put a little bit of a golf understanding on it and be part of that and see what I could add. And I think you just take that golfer view and just give it a little bit. It gives you the course a little bit of an edge at times.
So 30 years in the industry, nearly as well as 10 years at Wentworth. What's the most important thing that you've learned over that period of time, Kenny?
I mean, it's changed so much overall. The machinery's changed. It's much more. The technology's phenomenal, and I would probably describe myself as not really at the forefront of the technology side of things. I kind of know about it, I can do it, but I don't really use social media that much. I try and keep myself quite quiet in that side of the business, and it's maybe a self-criticism of myself and something I could have done more of. But I think overall, I think the things that stick with me, the original principles of the maintenance and the delivery of the surfaces will always be there. They've just gone up a notch, or 10, should we say, because the standards for when I started working on European tour events, so we're talking about the highest end in Europe at the time, I would say that the green speeds were 9 to 9.5, and the cutting heights were maybe a little bit higher, 4 or 5 mil greens and stuff like that. And now we're looking at greens that are 3 to 1.5 mil. The rollers have played a big part in it as well. Increasing smoothness and trueness is something I think is important to a golfer. But now for ordinary club golf in this day and age, we would never really be short of 10 to 10.5 feet for a club golfer. And for our tour pro golfer, we'd be looking at 12.5 to 13. So I think the expectation on a green speed from an ordinary golfer has changed dramatically. And if you said to them 30 years ago or 25 years ago, we were producing 9.5 on tournament standards, and you might be getting 7 or 8 or whatever it might have been at the time, because nobody really measured it that much.
No. And the members, your members, they're quite demanding, I guess. Have they got more demanding over your 10 years?
I don't think we've really got more demanding here over the years. I think I'm pretty demanding of myself and what the trends are in the golf world and the green speeds. You do like to have a smooth and true green to put on yourself. So I always try and put myself in the members' shoes. I play quite a bit of golf with members as well, so try and get out there and play with the members so they can hear some of my side of the story that relates to the team on the ground, and then understanding their side of the coin as well, really. And I think that it's a fine balance, and my thing would be golf's important. If you can play golf and be part of it, it doesn't mean you won't be a good greenkeeper. I think it just gives you an edge when your members have a bit of respect for your golf as well.
So you're having to balance professional tournament golf alongside the needs of your members. Does that cause conflicts?
I think in preparation for the BMW, when it was a May tournament, it was a different event. So we had coming out of winter into a spring. May was notoriously tricky to get things ready for, and it always just about popped up by the end of May. But we needed a lot more preparation time off the golf course for the members. Right now, so we usually close for the whole month of May for preparation. Right now, we're closing 2 weeks out, and I know that some other venues are closing maybe even only a weekend out, because the different business demands. So, but we would close two weeks plus the tournament. We would close out in terms of, and that just gives us the chance to recuperate the pitch marks, the divots, and all the stuff around. And we try and manage par 3 tees. So from a TV point of view, we know we get a bit of play. We try and manage the par 3 tees around ahead of the tournament. Maybe you try to get tees that are off the camera line that we don't want on the camera line during the championship. But I don't ever truly feel that I'm under pressure. I think I've only ever done one tournament, which was probably the low point of my life in golf and greenkeeping, was the tournament that we got quite a lot of criticism on the greens, and they'd only been rebuilt a number of years. I just felt we were never quite right, and it was just one of the things. We took over halfway through that project, or 3 years in, and I just felt that it was always a battle, but we were getting there, and we got some criticism. We didn't have time to do anything for the year after. But the year after, the greens were pretty good at that point. The poor Anya was sort of dominating a little bit more. And we managed to get the greens to a point where they were pretty good. And that was the year that we planned to shut the golf course down for a year, redo them. So the year that we had in between was invaluable, because that gave us a chance to do some research. We went off looking at different bent grasses, what would work for us. We worked with Ernie Els's team, we worked with STRI, we worked with a number of bodies in golf, and the owners were amazing. They gave us the backing to do the research and make sure we come up with the right answer this time. I think the grass species the first time just didn't quite work for the volume of golf it was going through.
So would you say that's your biggest challenge that you've faced?
Absolutely the biggest challenge. It was the hardest time when things in the paper is pretty negative. It's not a nice place to be, and I probably felt that was the lowest point. But, 2 years later, we were at the highest point when we redid the greens. All the research we did, we grew them in. So we went from closing the first week of June to reopening and running the tournament in last week of May. And we redid the greens, the bunkers, fairways, tees, and represented the golf course. And we've never looked back since, to be honest.
Well, I love a cliche, Kenny. So would we say you lost that battle, but you won the war?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I think you're always going to go through that at some time in your career, and that was the one that was me. And I had an awful lot of support from the club and the Els guys, and guys supported me because they thought they could see that we would take it forward with a new project, and that's exactly what we've done. And we do stay in touch. Ernie doesn't play the tournament anymore, but he comes to the UK. We do spend some time on the golf course and look round, and he can see it maturing and naturalising all the time. We very, very much changed the course back to some areas where we had a lot of heather or heath. We enforced the heathland feel, and we looked at the Harry Colt book, and his philosophy in Wentworth was, it's not a Sunningdale, it's not a pure heathland, it's a mixture of parkland and heathland together. We have pockets on the site that works, and we kind of use that to our advantage to force that into the before we reopened. It was a different looking golf course, and today people are now thinking what I hear. I only hear positive comments from the tour event and from the members.
Well, the times that I've been to Wentworth, I've never played it. I'm certainly not good enough to. It's always been a stunning venue, a stunning course, and I think The West Coast in particular, yeah?
It's an amazing venue, and the West Course is iconic. The tee shot off the first tee. The first tee, I think, is probably up there with anything in terms of, I guess, St Andrews is the one that will always be in front of the Arnay building, but the first tee shot at Wentworth is pretty spectacular. And for lots of visitors, they will always be, it's pretty intimidating. Even for guys that play it on a regular basis, you've got to be on it to get a good tee shot away.
And we touched on your biggest challenge there. Well, we more than touched on it. What's your highlight of your career? Let's kind of look at the positive side. Well, it was a positive because you beat that challenge, but
yeah,
what's your career highlight?
The highlight for me was doing the project at Wentworth, doing the project, growing it in from the start, having their own impact on it, going back to keeping Bentgas, which I had some experience of at the London Club and at Hanbury Manor. And I think for me, the highlight for me was doing it within that 1 year window from closing to reopening. So we replaced the irrigation around the greens, a new system, new tees, we regrassed the fairways. We did so much in that year. You just can't believe, the scope that we took on and the pressure to grow it in from seed. So we didn't use turf. So we grew everything in from seed. So the greens themselves were built and constructed. We had 6 weeks to build them. We seeded them on the 5th of July, and we had 19 days to seed the 18 greens. And 24th of July was the last seed on the green, and basically last seed down. And basically we had to get them growing in by the October to a certain level, then the winter through, and then finished off for the end of May Championship. So what we achieved in that period was phenomenal.
So you literally went from July through to May, no golf on that until the first practice round? Okay, but obviously the pros came in and practiced, I guess,
No,
in the build-up.
only we had a little bit of a soft opening to get some foot traffic on through late April, early May, but it was very, very limited. So the members really didn't get much of a chance to play it before the pros.
And did that all go to your plan? I guess you had a plan, but Mother Nature and other things intervene, don't they?
Oh yeah, we were always worried about weather. Snow could have, if we got snow that year, could have given us a headache. Tends to be, Wentworth is like a community, so all the housing around the place. You've got the snow comes out and get a few inches of snow, everyone's sledging over the greens, and you wouldn't believe what goes on at somewhere like this, because it's a community. They see the slopes and they'll get the sledges out and down they go. So we do it. So we didn't have any of that. We had a really good year weather-wise. We had quite a drought as well in that first summer during construction. And then just growing everything back in ready for that tournament. And the European Tour had a big say in it alongside Ernest. The European Golf Design were part of that kind of rebrand as we did it, and they played a big part as well. And being based in Sunningdale, they were really good. Jeremy Slessor, I'd never worked with Jeremy before, but it was amazing having somebody just up the road that you could, if you need to run things by. And Greg Lecce, Ernie's architect, would come in from the States for 4 or 5 weeks at a time and then jump back out. So having somebody up the road they were all talking off the same page, then that worked really well.
So you got plenty of support, people with a like mind. Talking of support there, a segue into the team you've got there. I mean, some people might be quite jealous of the size of team you got there. I think depending on whether you got casuals in, it's somewhere between 60 and 70 people or so, is it?
It is, to be honest, it's not a really huge team for the size of the estate and the job. And I think the West Course kind of takes, maybe 24 guys full time on there and 6 casuals. So they take a good chunk of it. We have mechanics, irrigation guys that look after just the irrigation systems, the drainage, and the other 2 courses kind of, maybe 10 or 12 guys on their courses. It's not massive, but there's a lot of management around it. And Dan Clark, he's our golf courses manager, and he kind of manages them on a day-to-day basis.
But you're looking after grounds and estates there as well, so you got a gardening team, haven't you, as well?
I have a gardening team. I look after all the landscape around the Tennis and Health Club. Wentworth's a bit unique. It has 13 tennis courts, a children's play area, a sports area, Astro that can do football, hockey, different things. I feel that takes a bit of time as well. And then we've just launched a new landscaping venture for the members to look after some of the houses on the estate as well.
And you were telling me you've just landed quite a big project.
So yeah, we just landed one this year. We had about 6 last year, but this one is another significant project, and it's just a fantastic venue for us we've worked really hard with a member. And basically I was the front of that company because of my relationship with the members.
Right.
I was fronting up for what we wanted to do, and they would having me around and having the length of time I've been at the club, lots of the members knew that, and they've got a comfort of what they see around the club. They're happy to then maybe take that into their own house and garden maintenance.
And with a venue like yours, where you've got members and an estate that some pretty impressive properties and some pretty impressive bank balances, I guess, to go with it. There's not too many venues in the UK, certainly, that can do that.
No, and that was a unique thing about Wentworth. And for me, you're always looking at what can be unique about you and what you're doing, and that was always an opportunity. We talked about this project for a number of years. We're not going to all of a sudden go out and get 50 houses signed up. We're not, I don't see the goal as that. I see the goal as getting some amazing houses signed up, working with them, giving them great service. And as we build, we might branch off into a separate company, but right now it's all for the team. But as we build it, we might branch off in all of us. But I think having me head it up has been the key point from a member point of view.
So they see the guy that they know and they trust, and they see what you're doing with the course, and they go, wow, I've got that guy, project managing my garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When we look at developments and trends in golf in particular and turf care in general, do you think that kind of project is going to be something that other venues will look at and take on board?
Yeah, I think so. Something that I've looked at, and if we're going to redo a range or tee and ground, wear and tear, I've done a lot of research with the lighting rigs that football use to extend their growth season. I think they've got a part to play. I've been at some projects around it, but it's never really taken off because you're having to move the lighting rigs around the site. I think I saw something in America at one of the shows a few years ago where it was a lighting. It felt like irrigation heads come up out of the ground, and you put the light on from there. And that was something I felt that could be expanded. If you're going to go to lights in golf, then it'd probably have to be installed around the greens for them just to then be hydraulically brought up light and then moved down, because moving the rigs around, I think, is not feasible, especially on the shorter days in the winter when you might use it.
Yeah.
But we would use it. We would use it for bent gas in particular, and the West Greens are 007 bent gas. The Eastern Edinburgh are Poanya with colonial bent through them, and they probably don't need that as much as the bent gas needs, the technology on the lights and stuff like that. But I think the sub-air system, we're the first club in it, the only club in England to have a fully integrated sub-air system in the project. So we actually threw the sub-air into the project at the time, which nobody else had done. I think that helps when you're growing bent gas as well.
That's paid for itself, is it now?
That for me, the bent gas is 5, nearly 6 years in, and we're in such good shape, really, for the position we've been in compared to the previous 5 or 6 years in the previous project. There's just no comparison, and I think the technology's played a big part in that. But I also think on technology, the football pitch turf with the fibres, I think they've got a role to play on tees and driving range tees, where can help with the wear and tear and divot repairs and stuff like that. And I feel that if we have the next project we do, we'll be looking at the football guys. So I do like the crossover from what they've done into golf. So I think there's a big market in there. And we're currently installing some football pitch turf with the fibres and walkways as a trial this year.
Oh, okay.
Just to see how it stands up to wear and tear. It's extremely expensive. It's a very expensive piece of turf. But if it does the job, I think that's the key for it.
You've got to look at the payback, haven't you? I think over the last sort of like 10 years or so, where most people were looking at golf to lead the way on development in terms of turf care and new technology, more of it has now been coming into golf from football. We've seen that. You're talking about the lights, you're talking about hybrid turf there.
Hybrid turf. And another thing I just thought of, we've done here 2 or 3 years ago, we built a cricket wicket in the Tipton Village area, and we hosted an all-star celebrity game with our members. So each celebrity, then the members could sign up with them, and we actually had a cricket match, and we Kevin Peterson, we had all the top guys.
Wow.
And Sky Sports actually covered some of it. It was phenomenal. So we built a cricket wicket, which we'd never done either.
That's a bit of a learning curve for you, because it's entirely the opposite, I understand, of what you should be doing, yeah?
We kind of met it head on. We didn't have a lot of time to do it, but we got some good feedback on the wicket. But we've never done the event since, so the wicket's in a little bit of disrepair now, but it was enjoyable at the time. And we could reinstate it and do another big event if we decided to do that. A lot of members at the club like cricket, and that was part of it. And actually, I'm a little bit unusual for a Scotsman, but I like a bit of cricket myself. So,
Well, unusual for a Scotsman. I was going to say, you don't get the weather for it. It's all rained off up there, isn't it?
yeah, it would be amazing how many cricket clubs there are in Scotland. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I do jest. I think more of a problem's are midges, isn't it? Kenny, you've got a prestigious venue there, and it's something that, I talk to a lot of people at high profile venues as well as lower profile. I'm interested. Pressure is something you mentioned earlier that you don't really feel it, but do you think the higher profile the venue, the bigger the pressure, or do you think, it's just different? It's the same pressure no matter where you are.
I think everyone's got pressure, whatever level they're working at. I think the golfer expectation at some of the lower level clubs is outrageous in terms of they expect 4 guys to maintain a golf course, the machinery and everything else. And I feel for the guys, they're the kind of unsung heroes in the industry, really, because they're coping with a lot of maybe complaints, maybe compliments,
Yeah.
but trying to manage that at that level. I think our golfer expectation has gone up.
Yeah.
And that golfer expectation has gone up. It doesn't matter if it's at the highest level or the lowest level. I think the golfer expectation is up because TV picks a great picture in terms of what the tournament golf does. And you get venues in America and they've got hundreds of guys, I'm traveling over to San Diego with Dan Clark and at the weekend, and the following week we're going to the waste management tournament in Phoenix.
Right.
And I'll be interested to know. I went to Sawgrass 2 years ago on a bit of a golfing visit with John Deere, and I can't remember the numbers, but the numbers of the guys that have maintained the courses over there would, you probably had 100 onto my team.
Unreal. Every bunker got its own guy, is it? Did it really? Bloody hell. Okay.
So it is a scary thing, and I think the lower guys and different structures and different clubs play a part in the pressure. Committees play a different role to owners. Owners can be as divisive as committees, but you just got to get working with your members and your owners to deliver the best you can.
And I think we touched on it earlier. You're not big on social media, but I think the visibility of high profile venues and social media, people that might expect something that's unrealistic, and they share it on social media because they feel they know what they're talking about, when quite often they don't have the full picture.
Yeah, and I kind of steer clear of it a little bit. I don't know if it's a lot of people put themselves out there. It's just not my style. It's just never been my style. And it's maybe a fault that I need to consider doing something about. But I just kind of like to go a little bit under the radar on that network. I think I'm well enough known globally in the game in golf I don't really feel I need to go out there and do it.
I think you need to keep your members and your owners happy, I guess, is the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, our owners and our members, and if we can keep them happy, that's the main thing for me. Yeah.
For you, in terms of ambitions and passions, I mean, it's unlikely, if impossible, for Wentworth ever to hold an Open, which I guess is the biggest tournament that we get in the UK. Is there anything that you'd like to achieve that you haven't yet?
Not in golf, because where we are in golf is something, but I remember doing an interview at Harrogate, and they're saying if you could choose another career in the turf industry, what would it be? And for me, it would be football, because I love football, and Glasgow Rangers, and basically having to sit with Davy on the table at the conference was brilliant. And, having an opportunity to be involved in that would have been probably the alternative for me.
So you're talking about Davy Roxburgh from Rangers and the Turf Business Summit there. So I'm glad we put you with someone that was right up your street there, Kenny. So okay, and we can't really talk about it, but you're obviously looking forward to tonight, or not looking forward to tonight?
Apprehensive, if I've been honest, but yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm actually trying to get on I'm going to a supporters club to watch it, so.
Oh, are you? Okay. Well, you can all celebrate or cry together, one of the two, can't you?
If it happens, it happens. But in general terms, very happy. But my career-wise, if it hadn't been golf, football would be the thing.
Okay. And that's purely because of the sporting connection, yeah?
Sport, yeah. Loved playing it, loved, and then seeing how it's developed and how it's moved on has amazed me. I'm friends with Darren at Tottenham, and been up there, seen all his. I haven't been at the stadium. I've been at the training facilities, and Carol at Wembley talking at a conference and what they go through for the European Championships and stuff like that. That's my interest, really, would be the football side of it.
Okay. And if we looked about other issues in the industry that you feel are important that golf or turf care across the board needs to address, what do you think they are, Kenny?
Well, I think the biggest thing that everyone's talking about globally is environment. But there's got to be a balance. We go back to expectation of golfers or wherever it might be. There's got to be a balance. If we're going to lose certain stuff out the industry and applications that we can put out to do things to maintain the turf at a higher quality, then if we're going to lose some of that, then the expectation has to drop. And kind of America, it doesn't seem to matter too much. They seem to be able to get most everything. So for me, I think that's a challenge going forward. But it's a topic that we all have to be aware of, and we all have to be doing. And we've certainly played a part in my time at Wentworth in terms of we want to deliver the best turf, but we have to have an eye on sustainability at the same time.
I think that there needs to be maybe some reality checks in different areas of both sides of the coin. What can be done? I
do, and I think the companies, and I would sort of call out Syngenta as somebody who have constantly, and not just them, there's other companies out there that they spring to mind, have constantly tried to produce, something, another active ingredient at a much lower application rate, and all of that side of things that we can't have. We've gone from 30 litres a hectare of a product to 3 litres of a hectare of active ingredient. It's phenomenal.
I guess that's got to continue to go that way, hasn't it?
Well, there's no other way it's going. So we have to figure out some more cultural practices to keep things going. And one thing I think, another thing I feel, an 18-hole golf course is don't have a lot of scope for this. But I think, golf has become busier, not just through lockdown, but over the last few decades. Winter golf has become busier, and you're seeing lots of wear and tear because people play a lot more in the winter than they ever have done, even here at Wentworth. So you get guys, the tee sheet, if the course is open, people want to play. We are very fortunate that we are able to close the West Course down. January, February, we don't have any play on there. And then in March and April, the first month of March, we're able to close down the East for 2 weeks, then the Edinburgh for 2 weeks, just to try and get some recovery. And I think we get an awful lot more winter golf than we ever did. And that's maybe because they're warmer, a little bit wetter, warmer winters, and members just willing to play golf at any time, or golfers willing to play golf at any time. So it's a balance of you open the spring with a lot of damage. You go back a long time, people played golf in the summer, and the end of the season was October.
Yeah, and now you're still cutting in December, aren't you? So, let alone. Yeah. Yeah. And the seasons of the year seem to be all over the place now as well. I think recently saw something that flowers now on average are flowering a month earlier.
Well, yeah, everything's changing because we're getting a few days of really top, 14-degree temperature, especially in the south, and then in the up north they're getting 4 degrees and gales and whatever. So it varies so much, and I just think that we're getting a lot more play than we've ever had in terms of winter golf, and people are then maybe coming into spring and the courses are a little bit tireder than they should be.
And I don't think much is going to change on that. People want to play, and you're just going to have to find ways to maintain it, aren't you?
And we're very fortunate with 54 holes. We're able to do different things, and we protect the West Course and we protect the bent grass, and that's why we've got great coverage of bent grass with very little POA around it. We're returfing the collars right now while we're closed. It gives us a chance to do things we wouldn't normally be able to do and play. And we're very fortunate, and other clubs just aren't that fortunate. And it's a tougher job for the other guys in some ways.
Kenny, you're looking to the future. You're a well-established, high-profile guy. At some point, whether that's another 10 years or another 30 years, you'll, hang up your cap and, retire. There's a nice word which is legacy. I mean, maybe not legacy, but, is there a legacy, or how would you like to be thought of when finally your days are over in terms of greenkeeping?
I'm not sure really overall. I've never really thought about it. Overall, I'm just not sure. I've really got an answer for that at this minute in time, really, Martin.
Okay.
I think I've worked with a lot of good people around me who have gone on to great things and gone on to other jobs, and it's great to see people progressing. And I think it's great if you can train people and people move on to another role and expand, and I want to see people progress within the industry and upwards and come to Wentworth and learn and then move on. And we know we're always going to be that kind of club. We'll have a bunch of people that are here for a long, long time, and we'll have other people that will be more transient, that will move on and on.
If you've helped them on that journey and moved them upwards, then you feel good.
I'd like to think I've taken some people under my wing and they've gone on, and I think they would say that they've learnt a lot and got working here and with us at the club has given them opportunity to take on a new role.
Kenny, I think that's an appropriate point of which to wrap this one up. I appreciate that you've given us so much time this afternoon, and it's great to see you again. Hope to see you again really soon, maybe up at BTME.
Yeah, I'll definitely be up there. Yeah.